Let's take a look at my swing back from when I used to play competitively. First thing I'll do is I'll just let it play through somewhat slowly, and you can look at whatever pieces you want to. We're going to look at a couple different swings. So this first one is a 3-wood, and then we'll look at a 7-iron from face on and down the line. I'm going to show you how my swing demonstrates how the key movements that I teach in the GSA system establish good lag and good swing plane, both of which help you with distance and consistency. What I've found is that golfers who simply try and create lag or try and create swing plane don't create near the level of distance and consistency as those who do it through training movements. So to look at lag, let's go up to the top of the swing, and we'll see that as I start down, the first thing to move is going to be my lower body, followed by my rib cage, followed finally by my arms. So one way that you can look at if the lower body has initiated the downswing is when I get to this position here where the belt buckle is roughly pointed out at the golf ball, I want the left arm to be somewhere around parallel. Many amateurs, when the belt buckle is pointed at the golf ball, would have their left arm way down here in front of their left thigh. That would be a clear indication that they're starting everything in their body together, where in this video I'm clearly demonstrating that I'm starting with my lower body. The next piece to lag is going to be rotating my trunk or my rib cage. This will be evident by the time or by looking at where the arms are when they get in front of the golf ball. So if I were to draw a line up here, you can see that the hands are roughly in front or even with the golf ball, right? So the back of my left hand right here is about even with the golf ball when the club is about parallel to the ground. Now this did not happen because I was holding my wrist back. This happened because I was doing the proper movement to square the club face and I was creating the speed from my lower body. During the next phase would be the release, where my hands are getting out in front of the golf ball when I'm making contact with the golf ball, and my arms are now extending to transfer that energy that my body has created. So this is a clear indication of how lag is created in the golf swing and why a little 5'10", 160-pound golfer like myself was able to hit many par 5s and 2 and take a crack at most par 4s that were under 350 off the tee. So using the body correctly is one of the biggest ways to create pound for pound distance. Now let's take a look at how I demonstrate the GSA system movements while I'm swinging with an iron. Again, this is back from when I used to play competitively. Now, what we'll show from this point of view is we're going to show how these movements create swing plane, where what most golfers do is they try to get the club on plane by just putting the club there as opposed to using the arms correctly. Now, there's a couple different ways to draw swing plane. One would be if I draw a line up the shaft from the start position. One would be if I draw a line from the hosel to the point of the elbow. But I think, and those are both okay ways to draw swing plane, I think the most accurate way is to go to impact and then draw a line from the point of the hosel to roughly where the grip would be. Now if I were to go backward from here, you would see that the club is slightly under plane and my hands are slightly above it until I make contact, and then the hosel and the grip end of the club are both roughly on the swing plane on the way through. So I had a path that came slightly from the inside, which gave me the draw. Now let's take a look at how the movements that we talked about when looking at my 3-wood created the swing plane. So the first movement that's going to happen is my lower body is going to initiate the downswing. So from this point of view, you can see that my thighs are roughly parallel to the target line right around when my left arm is parallel to the ground. This we saw from the face-on view as the belt buckle pointing at the golf ball. The next piece would be looking at my chest, and when my chest is pointing at the golf ball, roughly when my hands are even with it, and from here you'll see the arms finally release the club. It's this transition movement from the body, where the lower body initiates with a lateral movement as well as a rotation. the upper body waiting its turn, and then the upper body rotating, and then finally the hands extending that create the appearance of the club swinging down on a swing plane. It is not because I actively tried to get the club to swing down on plane. Now let's take a look at the similarities and the differences between my iron and my driver swing. So if I go up to the top of the swing with both, and just for reference sake, you can see that I've drawn a vertical line roughly up from the back of the golf ball. Now we can see that with the 3-wood, there's clearly some space between my head and this line. With my iron, my head stays a little bit more centered and up against this line. As I come down with the iron like so, you'll see that my shirt buttons roughly return to that position on top of the line. Now, I still have a fair amount of axis tilt, which is part of the reason why I struggled a little bit with wedges, but you can see that my shirt buttons are pretty much over the golf ball with this 7-iron, which is part of the reason I was a pretty good mid and long iron player. Now here with the 3-wood, you'll see that while my upper body drifts a little bit forward during transition, when I get to the point where I'm making contact with the golf ball, my shirt buttons are still a couple inches or a few inches behind the golf ball. That's one of the big differences in the ideal driver and the ideal iron swing, but you can see that the pieces of creating lag, the pieces of sequencing, the big pieces of the stock full swing are roughly the same. If you looked at both of these positions with me at left arm parallel, you can see a fair amount of similarities, a fair amount of lag. There's a lot of similar movements happening here in the golf swing, and that's what we teach in the Golf Smart Academy system as the movements of your stock full swing, and then you learn how to make these minor adjustments in order to maximize either your iron game or your driver game. And these are my examples that I'm demonstrating here in this swing analysis of myself. If you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. And if you want to have a powerful and repeatable swing, then sign up for our programs and start working on your golf game today.